this is Britt Caswell with another example video. In today's video, I'm covering example 2 from section 7.5 in the SavvasRealize Algebra 1 textbook. The goal of this video is to factor a trinomial. As you can see, I'm struggling with the title here. Honestly, when I go to factor, I am looking for whether or not there's an a value. So specifically in this problem, I'm making sure that our a value is 1. And my method of factoring when a equals 1 actually works the same way every single time. Savvas specifically splits it up, and I don't like that. So here we go. So if you watched our last video, you have the steps written down for this. So I'm just going to go through these using those same steps. Okay, so if you don't have those steps written down, go back to example 1 and make sure you know them. So step 1 is to set up the double bubble. Step 2 is to fill in my x's, because in order to get an x squared and to have a linear term there, I have to have an x times an x. This first sign falls down, and this second sign tells us whether or not we have to match or have opposites. So to make a plus 18, my signs have to match. So to match the negative, I'm going to put a negative here. Then we go ahead and we set up our t-table. I'm just going to do a little bit of color coding here to help people to see where some of this is coming from. So when we write our t-table, remember I kind of flipped the c and the b. So I put the 18 first and then the 11. And so I'm finding the factors of 18, and I use this second sign to tell me whether I need to add or subtract. So because that second sign is adding, I'm adding here. So the factors of 18, I know I have 1 and 18, I have 2 and 9, I have 3 and 6, and that should be it. And now I'm adding them. So 18 and 1 is 19, 9 and 2 is 11, and 6 and 3 is 9. So the pair that I have that matches the 11 I need is 9 and 2. And I fill those in. And remember, I always fill the bigger number into the sign that falls down. In these problems where the signs match, it doesn't matter. But it's a good habit to follow that same pattern, because soon we're going to get into signs that don't match. So, alright, so now let's go ahead and let's do that again. So again, a is 1, so I set up my double bubble. I fill in x and x because of that x squared. My first sign falls down. And then I use that second sign to figure out if I match or don't match. So because of that plus, I have to match. So here's a negative, so here's a negative. Then I set up my t-table. I'm finding the factors of 15. And because of that second sign being a plus, they have to add to make 8. And understand, I am avoiding having positives and negatives in here. That's why I deal with it with the add and subtract here. So I'm not adding them to negative 8, I'm just adding them to 8 itself. Okay, I'm ignoring the sign. Your textbook teaches you to always add, and therefore you would have to have a bunch of negative signs here, I think. And I just hate that. Like, they would put a negative here and have you have a bunch of negatives. But a lot of students really struggle with adding and subtracting negatives. So if I can keep all of these numbers positive and just have you worry about the signs in a minute, that's where it kind of makes things a little bit easier, I think. So the factors of 15, I know I have 1 and 15 and 3 and 5. And when I add, I get 16 and 8. So I'm going to go ahead and use that bottom set and fill in 5 and 3. Alright, round 3. So I set up the double bubble. I fill in my x and x, again because I have a square and a linear term. Alright, that first sign is going to go ahead and fall down Y'all, I am struggling. There we go. So that first sign's a minus, so he comes down. And then I look at my second sign. And that tells me two things. It tells me I need to match my parentheses, and it tells me in just a moment I'm going to be adding. So here comes my t-table. So I'll be finding the factors of 42 that add to make 13. Ooh, 42 is a big number, y'all. I'm going to be generating a lot of numbers here. So remember, you don't have to generate the list of all the factors. You just have to happen to find the one that's 13. So like I know 1 in 42 is going to be too big, or 2 in 21 is going to be too big. I know 42 is divisible by 3, and I'm going to use a calculator to figure out what it is. It's 14, 3 and 14. So I'm getting closer. It's not divisible by 4, not divisible by 5, but it is divisible by 6. 6 times 7. So there we are. So that 6 and 7 made my 13 that I needed. So remember, you can kind of be smart about what factors you're generating. If you're adding, you need to find the ones that are a little closer to the middle there, right? Because the bigger numbers don't make sense. And remember, if I want to check my work and make sure I'm doing it right, I can multiply these two back together and make sure they turn into the original problem. So there we have it, guys. There are a few more factoring examples. Until next time.